fourth race of the afternoon. It's the reserve race between Oxford and Cambridge lightweight women. Only the fifth running of this particular event. Sometimes it's in Coxed Falls, sometimes it's in pairs. On this occasion it's pairs. So we've got Freya Casson and Catherine Walker representing Cambridge. They are on the Berkshire station, and we've got Caitlin O'Brien and Emily Hinson representing Oxford on the Buck station. This race for those two athletes who just failed to make the cut for selection for the Blue Boat itself. So it gives them a chance, after all that hard work they've been putting in on and off the water, to have some competition at the end of it, despite the fact that they missed a place in the Blue Boat. Hands being raised to indicate that they're not quite ready. Pairs, of course, it's much smaller boats than eights, and that means that they are very much more prone to swinging around in the slight breeze that has developed through the afternoon, which makes conditions very slightly challenging, but not as bad as some of the experienced observers will have seen on Henley Reach over the years.
Oxford, Cambridge, attention, go!
16 and 17, Cambridge has won on each occasion. The start has been given, and it's Oxford, O'Brien and Hinson who are quickly away. Casson and Walker now beginning to make up ground, and I'll get some ratings for you as they move down into the early stages. I've got Oxford at 36, Cambridge behind them. Not quite such a cohesive pair in the Cambridge boat. They're a bit lower at 35, but the Oxford momentum really is causing them to fly as they pass the picturesque bridge at Phyllis Court Club on the far side of the course. No time for noticing the scenery here. It's all to play for in the reserve race. They're moving halfway down the enclosures, and Oxford, despite that early power, failing to capitalise on the advantage, because Casson and Walker really are beginning to not maintain contact, even if they're not actually closing the gap. Casson, a third-year natural scientist from St John's College, Lady Margaret Boat Club. Walker, a second-year history and politics student from Keys. And in the Oxford boat, Caitlin O'Brien, a fourth-year DPhil in physics. Emily Hinson, a third-year DPhil in psychiatry. And despite those two widely differing subjects, O'Brien and Hinson tell me that they work alongside each other in the same laboratory, with O'Brien putting together the sequences for an MRI machine, and Hinson putting that MRI examinations to good use in her research for mental health in the elderly. Well, obviously that togetherness on and off the water reaping early dividends for Oxford. They're hanging on to that lead, but Casson and Walker are looking increasingly strong now as we move down towards Remenham Club, and there is less than half a length in it between these two pairs. Pairs racing, one of the most difficult boat classes to make fast with absolute synchrony has got to be the key to the game. You've got to have equal power on exactly the same side, but because it's so difficult in challenging conditions, it's one of the boats that we see capsize most easily, but no danger of that in these smooth conditions here on Henley Reach. And Casson and Walker have seized the opportunity and are really pushing on hard now. O'Brien and Hinson are responding nicely. There is very little to choose between these two crews as the crowd of spectators now raise the volume to urge things on, and for the first time in this race, here's a turnaround. Cambridge just squeeze out into the lead, and they got it. Oxford really pushing on now. There is absolutely nothing to choose between these two pairs as the first half runs out down Henley Reach. Passing the bottom end of Upper Thames enclosure, up the rate goes yet again. Cambridge seizing the opportunity. They want to capitalise on that strong push that they put in over the line and the pressure on Oxford is beginning to show. Although they're at 34, it's much scrappier blade work. Length isn't there in the water, and almost a sense of panic beginning to set in among the dark blues as Casson and Walker now dig deep and begin to move away. 2/3 of the length in it for Cambridge as the second half opens up. Have Oxford got anything to come back on? O'Brien in the bow seat there, who was in the blue boat, in the lightweight blue boat last year, representing Oxford, so a cruel blow that she failed to make the cut to have another crack at the lightweight boat race itself. But she and her partner have now got things back together, things looking a lot less scrappy, a lot less white water flying around the finish, and all credit to them, refusing to be dominated by Cambridge. They've come right back into contention and still maintaining perhaps a canvas overlap on the stern end of the Cambridge boat. Well, the real race is now being fought out down the second half at the halfway mark. The spectator crowd witnessed some of the tensest race so far on this afternoon's programme at the Henley Boat Races 2019. But once again, Cambridge put on another little bit of a spur. A glance across from the Cambridge stroke just to reassure herself that they've still got one length advantage over Cambridge. Yet again the rate goes up from Oxford to try and come back in contention. I've got Oxford, they went up from 31 to 32. Now the pressure beginning to show because the steering is beginning to suffer in the Cambridge boat. They have drifted right across towards Oxford's water, and Claire Briegel, the umpire, now beginning to make her presence felt. She raised her flag. Casson and Walker responded. They are now back on course. They do not risk interfering with the Oxford progress. Interference in rowing terms is the leading crew sending down lumpy water from their stroke when they're out of their water, lumpy water that might impede the progress of the opposition. And once again, Cambridge being warned continuously. No, the flag is back in its umpire's socket, and once again Cambridge are back on course. There's still only about a length and a half in it. A scattering of spectators here on Temple Island Meadow to witness the closing stages of the lightweight reserve pairs. The end is clearly in sight. Cambridge know that, Oxford know that, but Cambridge are sitting up, looking strong and confident through the closing stages. We are 6.5 minutes in. It's not going to be a fast race, but Oxford have packed it on now. They really are beginning to work it. All credit to them. They've taken the rate up to 34. They've almost got overlap on the stern end of the Cambridge pair. But once again, Casson and Walker respond. And once again, Cambridge begin to move away. And now it's Oxford are being warned to get back on station. But I suspect this race is all over father shouting. We are approaching the top end of the island. There's less than 200 metres remaining of what has been the closest race on this afternoon's programme so far. Freya Casson and Catherine Walker for Cambridge move away down towards the finish, towards the last 10 strokes. Once again the pressure for Oxford beginning to show as they drift across dangerously close to the Cambridge stern. But there goes the flag in an unofficial time of 7 minutes 40 seconds for Cambridge to win the lightweight women's reserve race.
Control, this is finish, over. Finish, control, receiving, over.
Was a win for Cambridge by 1.5 legs, 1.5 legs. Over.
And we got the finishing judges' verdict. That was indeed a win for Cambridge, represented by Freya Casson and Catherine Walker by a length and a half. So very much the closest race of the programme this afternoon. Caitlin O'Brien and Emily Hinson for Oxford taking second place on this occasion.